If you think about it, the thing that you hope you never need to use might just be the most valuable asset that you own. So just think about the things that are around your house, maybe in your car, things that are just kind of sitting around that you never really think too much about. They're very inconsequential to say the least. But at the same time, if you needed to utilize it, it ends up becoming the most valuable thing that you own. So for example, let's say the kitchen, for example. So think about that red little canister right beneath your sink that most people never think anything about because of the fact that they never need it. And my hope is that you never really need your fire extinguisher. The hope is that I never need to use my fire extinguisher. But at the same time, if you're ever in a position where you're like, oh shoot, I got distracted, there was a fire in my house on top of the stove that never would have happened because I'm a very responsible cook, you're a very responsible cook. Like, we know that those things more than likely are never going to happen to us. But at the same time, the most valuable thing in your life at that particular time, if it were to happen, would be to have your fire extinguisher. Think about, for example, maybe a weapon. Maybe it's in your car. Maybe it's in your home somewhere. Whatever your weapon of choice is, the reason we have it is to protect our household, right? The reason we have it is to protect ourselves. The reason we have it is to protect those that we love the most. And with that said, it's like we hope that we never, ever, ever have to use the weapon that's kind of stored away in a secret place within our home. We hope we never need to use that, okay? And at the same time, if a burglar came in, if there was a threat to your home, if there was a threat to you as the person, to your family, you, without a shadow of a doubt, will make sure that you have that not only handy, you know where it is, but you're going to be the most happy person in the world when it's all said and done because you have that to defend yourself. Maybe a little bit more of an inconsequential example would be something that kind of happened to myself and my family literally like 2 weeks ago. We got like a puncture within our tire twice within 1 week. First time it was a big old screw inside of our tire causing a low tire pressure. And then literally 5 or 6 days later, there was another puncture in that same freaking tire, which made me think that maybe the first people that tried to fix it didn't get the second puncture out. I don't know, but I digress. The second time, it was this long rock, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I telling you that first company did not get both punctures and they didn't realize that there would be two, because what are the odds of there being two punctures within the same tire at the same time? But long story short, we ended up getting that fixed, 2 punctures within 1 week. And then once I got my car back, they said, hey, if you get another puncture in this tire, you're gonna just need a whole new tire. And I'm like, okay, whatever. My point in saying all this is that I feel like there's always parallels to draw to like almost everything in life. There's always like some sort of a comparison, some sort of an analogy to make. And those are the few things that I was thinking through when I think about the main point of this video. And so I'm gonna get to the main point of the video, but another thought that just kind of came to my mind right now is just this whole idea of like me being in the finance world and people understanding finance to one degree or another. Like, I think there's a lot of buzzword terms that we hear a lot about, and I'm not here to be the one that says you should do XYZ or you should not do XYZ. That's not the point of this video. Frankly, that's really not the point of this channel overall. I don't want to demean stuff. I don't want to make things overly hypey and whatnot. But the thought that I'm having right now is most people have 401ks. Most people, well, I'm not gonna say most people, but a lot of people have 401ks, a lot of people have IRAs, people have brokerage accounts, things of that nature. And a lot of times the reason for those retirement accounts specifically, especially like 401ks, IRAs, Roths, things like that, the purpose of that is to utilize it in retirement. And so the thought that I'm having right now is like, okay, most people who have those sorts of accounts don't necessarily want to tap into it because they want to save and accumulate as much money as they can by the time that they get to age 60, 65, 70, whatever the age is that you plan on retiring or you would want to retire, whatever, right? And so what I'm thinking here is that, like, if you needed to use that, you're gonna be happy that you have it, especially when you absolutely need it and there literally was no other option. So I'm not saying that the goal to grow money in a 401k is to go ahead and tap into it. But I am saying, like, the thing that you hope that you never needed to use, especially during a particular season of life, you're gonna be so happy that you had that in that season. And so I think about those, let's say you do have a 401k, let's say you are retired, or let's say you will be retired at some point in the near future, or even maybe it's way down the line. And I bet you if you were to interview like a dozen retirees, they would tell you that A, they wish they would have saved more money, or B, they wish they would have diversified in a real sense. And I'm not gonna get into the peculiars or the particulars of what I mean by that, but I will say that many of them, especially as they start to experience the downturns of the market while in the middle of retirement, while that being one of the primary sources of income, i.e. the IRA, 401k, what have you, if they had something that was safe in the portfolio that they could fall back on to let their 401k dollars kind of recover in those years when the market was tanking and everything like that, they would be the happiest people alive. And they'd have so much less stress because of the fact that they have that safety piece, right? And so they almost wish that they would have incorporated something safe in their portfolio earlier in life. And for many people, and I'll include myself in that, the safety asset of choice would be overfunded whole life insurance. And the goal of that is not to like make an ad. I'm not trying to turn this into an ad or anything like that. But the thought for me is like, yes, it is for me, it would be overfunded whole life insurance. Okay, that's just what it is, and that's the case for hundreds of other clients that I've helped and their families throughout the years. Like that's just, again, I'm making it kind of sound like an ad, and I promise you, I'm not trying to do that. It's just kind of where my brain is going at this point in time. The other point that I'm making, here's like the main point that I was trying to drive home in this particular video from the very beginning. The main point that I was trying to drive home in this entire video is simply the fact that, get this, there's many people in the insurance space, or whether you are an agent, whether you're just a huge fan of the industry and you're just kind of watching from the outside, but you're very much involved. There's a lot of people within the insurance industry that tell you that you have to be utilizing your policy. And I get where they're coming from, because it's a standpoint of like, you want to increase the velocity of your money, you don't want money sitting idle, blah, blah, blah. And I think when people say that, you have two camps of people, right? You have camp A group of people who is like, you know what, I've had this policy, I've not really done anything with it, and I feel like I should be doing more with my policy. I've literally had conversations with clients, with prospects who are like, you know what, I personally feel like I should be doing more with my policy. I've had it for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. I haven't really done much with my policy. But then you have category B of people who are on the edge, thinking to themselves like, I see the value of getting a life insurance policy, but I keep hearing from X and Y and Z agents and people online that are proponents of overfunded whole life insurance that like, I'm supposed to be utilizing my policy. And because of that, I don't know if I want a policy, simply because I don't have any investments to invest in. And it's like, those two camps of people should not be ruled out from getting a policy. They should not be thinking, I might want to get rid of my policy, and they should not be thinking, I might not want to get a policy, simply because I think when that sort of narrative happens, that sort of narrative is present throughout the industry, what happens here is that we diminish the value of the life insurance policy in and of itself. I think that's what ends up happening. We diminish the value of the life insurance policy in and of itself. We diminish the value of the fact that, yeah, it's tax-free growth. We diminish the value that you're getting a death benefit. We're diminishing the value that the legacy that you're leaving to your family is a huge multiple of what you've actually put into the policy from the very beginning. We're diminishing the value that it is a buffer for volatility. We're diminishing the fact that there is guaranteed growth within the policy. Like we're diminishing the other riders that you have, that you can tap into the death benefit in addition to your cash value in certain seasons if you came down with a particular type of illness or whatever. We're diminishing the fact that your policy can be self-completing. We're diminishing the fact that you can actually do so many things with your policy in and of itself, because of the fact that we want to focus on the cash value in and of itself and being able to borrow against it and do all the ninja tricks that you can do with life insurance. And by the way, I am not here to tell you that you should not do any of that. Like, I'm a proponent, huge proponent of borrowing against your policy to invest in things. I'm a huge proponent of that. For this video that you're watching right now, like, I borrow against my policy to invest in certain types of equipment in order to make the videos better for you, right? And I'm not saying I'm a savant at video editing or creating videos or anything of that nature, but I do all of this by myself. Like, it's a fun time for me. I love creating these sorts of videos. And I'm telling you, it's a kind of funny thought. If you went back and saw some of my earliest videos from like 4 or 5 years ago or whatever, 4 years ago, you'd probably say to yourself, ooh, I ain't watching that dude. But I digress. Those videos are unlisted, so you can't see them anyway. But all I'm saying is, like, I'm a big proponent of utilizing your policy for whatever you wish. But at the same time, if you're in one of those buckets, you're a person who has a policy and you're like, I'm not maximizing it to the greatest of my abilities, or you have or you don't have a policy yet, and you're thinking that you want to get one, but you're kind of shying away from it simply because you don't have this fancy investment to borrow against and to create more cash flow from and to increase the velocity of your money and all that. Like, if you don't have that, like, that's okay. There's still immense value in life insurance. And I think it's one of those things to where I need to encourage you and say, like, you're not dumb for not using your policy, right? In the same way that You're not dumb for not utilizing the fire extinguisher. You're not dumb for not utilizing the weapon in your home. You're not dumb for not using the spare tire in your car, right? You're not dumb for not utilizing that. But that one thing that you probably won't be using too much, especially during a season of life, is going to be the most valuable thing that you could ever own, and you're going to be so happy that you have it when you need it most, or when you even want it most. And what I want to just encourage, like for you watching this, especially if you're in one of those camps, like you're thinking like, maybe I want to get a life insurance policy at some point, but I don't have these fancy investments, or you've had a policy for a few months, a few years, whatever that may be, and you're like, I have no fancy investments to put my money in, to borrow against my policy for. Like, I wanted to say, it's okay. Like, you do not need to feel the pressure to borrow against your policy to invest in anything, because again, there's value in the growth in and of itself, and there's value to having something safe in the portfolio. And of course, what you have safe in the portfolio should be significant enough that it can actually, you can actually sense the safety when you need it the most, especially like in a retirement sense. But hey, I don't want you especially to feel the pressure of, I gotta borrow against my policy. It's just not necessary, and I think it's overhyped. But it is good that people can, but again, it's just not one of those things to where you have to do it at all costs. So anyways, I hope this made sense. This is a different style, flavor of video. So if you've seen any of my videos in the recent few months or so, this is just a new flavor, a new style that I want to try. Let me know what you think. And until next time, thanks for watching.